The news first with breaking news. It's Tuesday morning in Lagos. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the program. I am Nifemi Okuntoye. We witnessed the first major shakeup in President Tinubu's cabinet yesterday with the suspension of one of the youngest ministers in this administration, Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, Dr. Betta Edu. And this is following controversies about financial transactions she authorized in her ministry. Dr. Edu has come under criticism from Nigerians for ordering the transfer of 585.2 million naira into the private bank account of a civil servant who was the accountant in charge of grants for vulnerable Nigerians. The minister had issued a memo to the Accountant General of the Federation in December last year, ordering the said amount to be paid into the civil servant's private bank account. We have some update for you in this report.
After the suspension of the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, Dr. Betta Edu, she was denied access to President Bola Tinubu at the presidential villa. This vehicle took her out of the villa as she was unable to meet the president. Betta Edu's suspension was announced in a statement by the presidential spokesman Anjuri Ngelale following her alleged involvement in the approval of 585 million naira to a personal account.
And the president is going to ensure that nothing at all will get in the way of that investigation being conducted in a fair and transparent manner and in a way that Nigerians would have full confidence that whatever conclusion is arrived at is based only on the merits of the investigation.
The president directed the AFMC chairman, Ola Olukoyede, to conduct a thorough investigation into all aspects of financial transactions involving the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation. These are the reactions from Nigerians.
Corruption is in Nigeria. There are no exceptions. Young, old, male, female. Everybody is involved. And the critique of yesteryears are those in government today. And unfortunately, what they once criticize are the same thing they do today.
If not because of the patriotic work by EFCC, they would have just kept quiet, just like in the past administration. This kind of situation were happening and some people just decided to keep quiet. This time around, the leadership of EFCC and ICPC are out there to ensure sanity, in our governance system.
And this is how the Office of the Humanitarian and Poverty Affairs looks like after the suspension of the minister. Her last post on X is the 5th of January. What is the task of the coordinating minister of the Economy and Finance? The president directed Bola Edu to conduct a comprehensive diagnostic on the financial architecture and framework of social investment programs, reform relevant institutions to eliminate institutional frailties, and win back the public confidence.
And news just reaching us now, the suspended Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, Dr. Betta Edu, has arrived at the headquarters of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission in Abuja. I recall that he was invited by the anti-graft agency yesterday, shortly after the news of a suspension broke. I'm joined now for conversations and reactions to this latest development. Jacob Pele is Policy Development Analyst. He joins us live from our Abuja studio. Dr. Charles Marindoti Oludare is convener, Social Rehabilitation Grace and Support Initiative. It seems we invited you because of your name, Marindoti. Thank you for joining us on the program. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us as well. All right, Dr. Pele, the suspended minister was at the villa yesterday to see the president, and it was there, actually, she learned about her suspension. That meeting didn't hold, and then she got invited by the AFCC. We're hearing that she's arrived at the AFCC headquarters as we speak in Abuja. What do you make of this development?
My brother, Happy New Year, and Happy New Year to your viewers. Let me start by, if I can, I would have done it physically, taking my hats off for the president. Mr. President have done something that I'm very proud of him, and I can say that, yes, this is the president that is willing to work. Mind you, if anybody follows my intervention, I don't try to sort of, talk about people except they have something to be talked about. And this president has shown that he's ready to work. Let me sound a note of warning that I don't know Mr. President, I haven't met him in person, but if anybody takes this man for granted, that person will have himself or herself to be blamed, because this is going to be the move that he will be making, especially if he wants to write his name on the sand of time, which I believe he wants to. This is very, very good for President Bola Tinubu. This is commendable. It's something that people like me will stand and support. This is what a leader should do when there is crisis. And bravo, Mr. President. Having said that, let me say that I've always said it. I've always called, and that's the difference. Let me make a comparative analysis. Now, former president was aware that the former minister of this same ministry was going through ICPC and was being investigated for 2.6 billion or thereabout, and she was allowed to stay in the office while that investigation was ongoing. This is a contrast. We're seeing a different president who feels that that shouldn't happen and have taken a concrete, commendable action by asking the person that is being investigated to step aside. That's the difference between, and I think the communication people around Tinubu should frame this narrative, because that's a clear-cut difference between him and the former president. Bravo to Nigerians, because this is the kind of leader we need to ensure that people are held accountable. There's a whole lot of rot in Ministry of Humanitarian, which I have tagged on humanitarian.
Let us attempt to dig deeper. 4 months ago, I asked Dr. Betta Edu how she intends to clean up the corruption with a conditional cash transfer, and here's how that conversation went. All eyes are now on the National Social Investment. All eyes are now on the National Social Investment programs designed by the previous administration to lift families out of poverty, and how it will be implemented under your leadership. It seems, from all indications, it's been adopted by this government. But some have criticized, for instance, the conditional cash transfer and even the homegrown school feeding program. They say the lack transparency. Some even claim the programs have become some sort of a conduit pipe for corrupt officials to steal public funds. You have talked about reaching out to 15 million poor and vulnerable households through the conditional cash transfer. What will you be doing differently?
Okay, so one of the innovations which we're bringing in first is that on that social register, we are going to verify it, validate, and expand it to accommodate more persons in the National Social Register, and then from which we are going to get beneficiaries based on which intervention. Of course, we have said, working with the World Bank, we would be seeking approval from the federal government to begin the cash transfer to Nigerians. That would, the full information on that will come after we've gotten the clearance from the Federal Executive Council, probably next week. But what is most important is that we want to increase the social safety net for Nigerians. We want to be able to pull millions of Nigerians out of poverty, and we're going to do it in a transparent manner. We are going to count the numbers together. You know the way, like I told them last time during when we had the management meeting, I say, you know the way they count COVID cases and COVID death associated with COVID and all of that? That's the same way we'll count the number of people we have been able to reach per day, per month, per time, and Nigerians would verify on their own, independent of the ministry, whether this has been truly done or not. We're going to digitalize the system, so it's
hold you to account to that promise
the banks to the beneficiaries without necessarily going through middlemen. But where that is not possible, for a very small percentage, we'll be flexible enough to ensure that everyone benefits from it and no one is left behind.
All right, so that was the conversation with the suspended minister 4 months ago. And Dr. Oludare, she did say that the process will be digitalized with money sent directly from banks to beneficiaries without middlemen. But in that conversation, she also mentioned that she will be flexible in some cases. So is that the possibility here of someone whose intention is to bypass the long bureaucracy of government in order to get the job done right in time?
No, because, and thanks for that question. No, because I don't think there's any hurry to get money out to people. This is not a short burst thing. This should not be a quick fix thing. This should be a long-term thing that should last for eternity. And I know a lot of people, because of, the former minister, I think was 37 billion, the social investment program coordinator, maybe 44 billion. And this one, a lot of people have suggested that maybe this whole program should be scrapped. I would say, on the contrary, it should not be, because it is an essential part of, social investment. When you think about it, it also helps the economy. And people, they do it out here too. We have like the Women, Infant and Child in the United States, where poor people can go and get, life support. I believe that, one thing that I want to suggest, because we are talking about this particular program and cash transfer, is that cash is nebulous. It's something that you can't hold on to. I believe that there should be a particular restructuring of this program, whereby, the president stops giving Bola cash and starts giving Bola card. Because, and let me spell it. You should stop giving BALLER cash, CASH, and start giving BOLA. They can call it Bridge Outreach for Life Assistance card, whereby people can take it and go and use it to buy things that are necessary, like food, not cook, not drink. I have someone that is close to me that if you give him money, you use it to buy beer. If you give him money, you use it to gamble. You don't want them to use 20,000 naira to do all of those things. And these people might qualify. So that is why the only way to do it is to give them a card that they can take. And it will be a long-term thing. It has to be, a lot of work. You give them a card that they can take to food sellers who will have card readers, whereby you can buzz your card. This whole social investment thing, even when it comes to like the distribution of palliatives, rice and all, we have COVID rice that are still rotting in, warehouses that, nobody can benefit from. You can give all this, what's it called, stuff to food sellers who will have card readers, and people will apply. People's point of application can be their churches, the hospitals and everything. This program is very essential, including the food program that the president just brought back, because these are ways for you to keep people in schools. So it is always very disheartening, when I see people who are supposed to be held in public trust, abusing it, especially when it comes to the vulnerable. I'll tell a brief story. When I was a final year medical student, I organized the concert in OAU where I invited Davido, YQ, and Sam Clef, and we called it Feed the Kid. And the reason why we did that was because, after my pediatric posting, I realized that majority of the children living with HIV in Nigeria are just suffering from malnutrition. So we tried to come up with this program to help raise money, just to help them. And one of the reasons why these children even have HIV is because they are forced to feed on breast milk that is infected, because Nigeria as a country cannot afford to feed them. And I want to mention that, I organized the concert with a man called Ife Indero. He is the current APC flag bearer in the by-election coming next month in Edus, and I think people should vote for him because he's a good man. These programs are very essential. We need to eliminate any loophole, especially when it comes to giving cash. There should be a cessation of cash, and we can create cards that people can be using on a regular basis. once they apply, you cannot just go out and be looking for people. You can do a lot of outreach for people to know that there is a way for you to come and get this Bola card, and you can use it to buy food, to buy oil, and all of that. We have people in the IDP camps that giving them cash will not help them. You can cook food for them. This is a part of what they should be doing in that ministry, not embezzling money.
Well, Dr. Ludari, I hope you're not planning to take Dr. Edu's job, because he came quite prepared with an alternative plan for, the cash transfer, particularly with your Bola card. But I'm just kidding. Mr. Epele, quickly, the president has tasked a panel led by the coordinating minister of the economy and minister of finance to, among other things, conduct a comprehensive diagnostic of the financial architecture and framework of our social investment programs. So when you look at what has happened in the past few days, 2 ministers, both past and present, currently being probed by the AFCC, there must be something fundamentally wrong with the operations of this ministry. Do you agree?
Absolutely, absolutely. Unfortunately, Betta should have known better when she inherited a ministry that she probably did not take time and take a cursory look at the rot around the ministry. Civil servants, not all civil servants are bad, but there are some very bad ones that can really lead you into trouble, especially if they can prey on your greed. Once you show any element that you're interested in making money, they will create all kinds of very illegal vehicle that can run you into trouble and run you out of town. While we are looking at all of the rot that Betta inherited and how she plunged herself into this very, very grievous mistakes, which she shouldn't have done, knowing fully well how smart she is, However, we need to also go backward, because sometimes to describe the future, you need to go back, We need to go back to the former minister that really, really cleaned out. And there were a lot of allegations that she's carrying, We need to find out how she's doing it. But if I go direct to your question, if I'm the Minister of Finance, I will put a pause to everything and immediately launch a forensic audit so that you know what happened, who is with what. These figures that we're talking about, I guarantee you, especially the former minister, has a lot to account for. And it is not 37 point something billion. I think it may be more than that, because you're talking about 2.6 billion that she didn't account for. You're talking about $523 million that she didn't account for. You're talking about 37.1. That's the one we know. There are several others that she needs to be held accountable. And going to the current, the minister that is under suspension. Go ahead.
The issue with the former minister is well, stated. And, we've seen all of the allegations with the AFCC. But how much of a crime would you say has been committed here with the current minister? Because the Accountant General of the Federation did say her agency advised the ministry on the appropriate steps to take in making such payments in line with the established payment procedure. What would think maybe this was an honest error, and then the AGF did correct the ministry on how to, go about it, except we're saying this money indeed was disbursed?
There's nothing like an honest error. An error is an error. And let's look at it, and I'm going to be very objective, There's a whole lot that there's a whole lot of mistake that she made. And hopefully she will be honest to come out. And Nigerians are forgiving people to say, look, I'm sorry, I goofed. Let me begin. One, it's now obvious that the Accountant General advised her not to pay money into a private account. After that advice, why did she continue to do that? Why is it that she went ahead to pay money into somebody's private account? Now, that contravenes the Financial Act of 2009. I believe, I may be accurate in my quoting, the Chapter 6, subsection 619, made it very clear that you cannot pay public funds into a private account. Chapter 7, I believe subsection 718 or 713, I'm not too clear, but any of those. 713, fantastic. 713 made it very clear and made it a criminal offense and codenamed it fraudulent. I expect the suspended honorable ministers to have been guided, properly guided, Now, this issue of argument of, oh, she had good intention and all that, you may have good intention, all right? But the law doesn't forgive you, even if you break the law with your good intention. Now, let me look at some of our argument, and I'm trying to be very objective, okay? The argument is, oh, there are vulnerable groups, which I belong to that community, that don't have bank account. So we wanted to pay the money into a private account and then help them to open an account. Oh, come on, Betta. That argument doesn't hold because, if you know that you wanted to help them open an account, you would have helped them first open an account before you start disbursing the funds. Secondly, you can't say that you will pay $500 million, over $500 million into my account, and that I have the financial system to start transferring money to how many individuals? That's unthinkable. She should have known better never to delve into this. And it's somebody that I have a lot of respect for. One of the ministers that I saw was going to be a star minister. And she had just bundled it. I hope she would, in her stead, I will come out clean and said, I have made a mistake and move on. Hopefully, Nigerians and the present government will forgive her and probably she will come back. But however, she has a lot to answer. And
all right.
it would be in her best interest to answer those things honestly and accurately. Stop making excuses. Leaders don't make excuses. They execute. And that's what President Bola Tinubu had done.
Indeed. Dr. Oludare, so attention is turned now to Section 173 of the Financial Regulations Act of 2009. And it states clearly that personal money shall by no circumstances be paid into a government bank account, nor shall any public money be paid into a private account. It also added that any officer who pays public money into a private account is deemed to have, done so with fraudulent intention. Now that we've had the president directing AFCC chairman to conduct a thorough investigation, what's your expectation in this regard vis-a-vis what we've seen in the past? Because usually this, turns into the appointment of another person and then it goes to court and the courting gradually draws on this until it happens again.
Yeah, so me personally, let me first start with, I want to address one thing that Dr. Ipele said. With all due respect, sir, I vehemently disagree with Nigerians forgiving because I believe the way we got to this place is because Nigerians are too forgiving. Human beings learn by operant conditioning. It is the result of what we have done that informs our next decision. So if we forgive, then we are given another person the right to do it and ask for forgiveness. I want to, really, really applaud the president for not, hesitating, not prevaricating, in swinging the hammer. I think he has been Mr. Manidoti #1 because he did not allow this thing on his administration. And, when it comes to, the Section 173, like you mentioned, ignorance is no excuse in the court of law. Just if I would want to, as an improvement of system, advise that maybe every ministry should have an ethics office that whereby all these things, all the decisions go through before they go out, just to prevent it. But, there's one very thing, especially when we look at the history of what has been going on in this, department or this ministry. There's one thing that the new FCC chairman asked for, which is the ability to freeze funds. This is a very, very essential, weapon in the hands of EFCC, because you cannot allow someone steal your money and then they still have access to the benefits of that booty. No, you should deprive them of it. In the United States, they call it Bank Secrecy Act, whereby even any transaction above a threshold gets reported to the, tax collecting committee, IRS. We have FIRS because the government has an interest in collecting taxes. So if they can prove that you did not legitimately, earn this money, they freeze your assets, and then you can prove later. All these ministers should have had all their assets, all liquid and real, frozen, because you have to, while the case is going on, they've not forfeited it, but you've frozen it. So because you have to deprive them of the benefits of, that corrupt activity that they have done. This will be a very useful tool in preventing majority of grafts that occurs in Nigeria, because quite frankly this is shameful and this is painful when you think about, especially this. I mean, people are just heartless. You sit down here in the United States sometimes eating food and you feel guilty that why do I have access to this, and you have children who are dying in the hospitals because they cannot have food. We have marasmus kwashiorkor is still a problem in Nigeria. Adults cannot afford to feed their children. There are so many times people will call you crying that they can't find food for their children. And we have people who feel they have a right to just misappropriate that food. I mean, I'm sorry I'm getting to prevent this from reoccurring. It has to be a one and done thing for all public office holders. Any cash transaction should be monitored. The banks should be made liable to report it, otherwise they get a penalty. If you make a transaction of above 10,000 naira into my account in the United States and you don't report it to the IRS and the banks don't report it, they get a fine of about 3 million. So they have to, and then the tax committees will know this, and then they can follow up, and then they can refer you to EFCC, whatever they want to do. Because I am telling you, this thing has to stop, and we have to show no mercy. There is no opportunity for a second time. I mean, for a second, try. You only get a one chance to first impression. Yeah, once you mess it up, you should go away.
All right, Mr. Epele, quickly, let's look at the implication of this development. First, it's important that we get this to a logical conclusion, because at best it is an allegation, and we're looking forward to see the investigation done by the anti-graft agency and also actually, find out what really happened. But what's the implication of this development on, for instance, the young people and the participation of the women folk in government? The last time Mr. President was signing the 2024 appropriation bill into act, a picture of him and those around him was shared online, and someone was asking, are there no women in Nigeria? This is one of the youngest ministers, in this cabinet. She's perhaps the only female minister to have come from our state. What implication do you see this have, and how important is it to have it driven to a logical conclusion, because of these other elements involved?
Well, it's important that we don't attach this to women in leadership position. This is just one woman. What about several other men who have also messed up the opportunity? What about older people who have also messed up an opportunity?
Unfortunately, Mr. Epele, there are 3 women involved, just to get the numbers right. If you count the former minister and the CEO, the CEO of the NSPA.
I agree. I agree, but it shouldn't stop our, he for she. It shouldn't stop our advocacy and agitation for women to be given a place to serve. We are talking about just 3 women. There are several men in, and I'm not making excuses. Anybody that violates the law or is corrupt should go down with it. I'm not making excuses for that, but it shouldn't be, let's not generalize it and to say that every other woman is not like that. I'm not saying you're saying so. I'm saying for the interest of the public and the people that are discussing this kind of issue. You understand? Having said that, it's not a good thing for the women folk. There's no doubt about that. But she's not the only woman. And there are several other women in the cabinet that I believe also will learn from this and do better. And there are also several other young people who have not been given the opportunity that would be given such opportunity, and they will do well. And knowing fully well that from experience, they have seen what has happened to Dr. Betta. Unfortunately, she's become the scapegoat, and she's paying the price. Hopefully, she would, what is happening to her will serve as a deterrent to other people. But I also want to touch on what Doctor said. I'm a Christian. I believe in forgiveness. And I am a bundle of fault myself, you know. And when people make mistake, where I have issues is when you make mistake and you fail to take responsibility for that mistake. Then I know that you're somebody that will never, ever change. I believe that if at the end of this exercise, that there are aspects that she did without the intention to commit fraud, and the people around her, I mean, she can be forgiven. Why not? You know, I don't speak for her, but she needs to come clean and let people know where she has made mistake. And even if she's not forgiven for this position, she can be forgiven for other positions. Betta has a huge potential around her, and we cannot throw away the baby and the bathwater. You understand? I'm not making a case for her, but I'm just being very objective.
Accusation of what some consider a serious crime. It is not a conviction, which is a formal declaration, you know, of guilt by, you know, the verdict of a jury. So the president has called for a full investigation, and it's important that we note that at best, you know, this is an indictment, not a conviction. We'll take a short break, and when we return, we'll continue this conversation and also open the phone lines to hear from you. Stay with us, everyone.
Every weekday on Business Nigeria, we uncover the secrets of the financial world,
breaking down intricate economic and financial matters.
We analyze the stock market, shares, bonds, and the thrilling world of cryptocurrencies.
We unveil and analyze complex policies of the CBN and other government parastatals as they affect your everyday life, keeping you a step ahead every time.
Okay, this is the Facts matter. Our team dives deep to separate facts from popular opinion.
We simplify complex government policies as it impacts your everyday life, helping you navigate the ever-changing financial landscape.
Watch Business Nigeria every weekday at 2 p.m. only on TVC News. First with breaking news.
Elevation, Dr. Betta Edu, based on allegations of transferring funds to personal account. I'm joined by Jake Pele, Policy Development Analyst, live in our Abuja studio. Also joining us via Zoom from the United States is Dr. Charles Maridoti Uludari, Convener, Social Rehabilitation, Grace and Support Initiative. Gentlemen, thank you for staying the course on the program. Dr. Uludari, quickly, some have said that this revelation is mainly a function of infightings within the system. You know, the fact that this memo ordering the payment of 585 million naira into the private account of a civil servant, you know, was leaked a few days after Dr. Edu ordered the suspension of an official for alleged financial impropriety. Some say our system can this revelation. How do you think we can operate a system that detects, you know, such error and calls it out without relying on whistleblowers who, in this case, do have other intentions?
Thank you for that question, but my own response would be, why do we have a problem with I want to do is I want to incentivize such a thing. During, I think it was during the French Revolution, they had something called like an agent provocateur scheme, where people will go out there and provoke, malfeasance and then get them arrested. As a matter of fact, I think EFCC should have something like that, an agent provocateur, department where they try to get people to commit, corrupt, to do something corrupt, and then they, confiscate them and arrest them and prosecute them. Because when you think about crime, the way it is so severe in the Nigerian system, we cannot afford to be reactive. We have to be proactive. When, the person that you are trying to engage in a corrupt endeavor with, when you are not so sure if that person was a mole that was sent by, EFCC or not, you are going to think twice before you, engage in that thing. We need to take serious measures when it comes to, stopping grafts. Yes, the system in Nigeria is broken and corrupt, and we have to, do a better way at policing it. But one man cannot do it. It has to take, all of us. We need a mindset change. We talk about multidimensional poverty in an economic state. It is a mental state. They have a poverty of the mind. That is why they feel so insecure that they feel they need to garner wealth that even if they did the math, they won't be able to finish spending it in whatever is left of their miserable life. So these things are things that I will personally encourage for people to fight so that I will even incentivize it. If you report someone, you get a certain percentage of whatever booty that they have taken, so that you give people motivation to keep on reporting, to keep on exposing. If you want to climb the ladder, expose your boss. Because the success of such an agent provocateur scheme will be that it will not be able to catch people. So that is the success, and that will mean that this scheme has failed. So I just want to go, on a little bit of a lighter note to what Daddy Dr. Epelia said, that, truthfully, I'm a Christian too. And, the Bible told us God is infinite in his mercies, but he also told us that the wages of our sin is death. So definitely we can be merciful, but still hold each other.
You guys are busy sharing revs this morning. By the way, again, I want to insist that this is at best an allegation. I mean, both of you will be shocked if Dr. Edu, comes out clean from this. We'll have to wait to hear from the anti-graft agencies. But Owofo Oshe has called in from Ota, rather, Anifo Oshe. Good morning. Please go ahead with your contribution.
Yes. This, what has happened to Betta is a reflection of what is happening in every ministry and parastatal.
The TVC News at 7 and the TVC News at 10 are not like any other news broadcast.
It's the big news hour, the hour for the big breaking stories.
We've got some of the best reporters on the field,
taking you through as it happens.
It's fast-paced, hard-hitting,
with investigations that matter.
bringing in news that affects your life.
With sport, entertainment, and business news, so you don't miss a thing.
Experience resourceful coverage with depth
every night.
Every week, Green Angle, in partnership with Wild Aid, will bring you a documentary series on environmental issues affecting Nigeria's amazing biodiversity, from climate change, air pollution, and wildlife conservation. We will be traveling across Nigeria to give you on-the-ground report of the issues affecting our environment. It airs every Saturday at 4:30 p.m. only on TVC News.
Sometimes it's the story that calls. At other times, the people just want to be heard.
School, I need students, but I need teachers.
Can't continue like this.
Their voices re-echoing through time itself.
We haven't done anything. If the tide is high, everybody run for safety.
Their tears leave a sweet sour taste for all their demands. A familiar call beckoning for change. In our world, no one expects a disaster to happen. But when it does, we'll be there.
We apologize for that abrupt break. We're back with conversations on this morning. Anifo Osha is still online from Ota. Please go ahead with a contribution.
Thank you. And I want to say again that civil servants in that ministry should be held to role there, because they know that government money is not supposed to be kept in the private accounts. They know that. They are director of finance, several directors along the of them there. Why should they allow it? So it is intentional. The civil servants are aware. They know it and they allow it. They should be held responsible, not only Betta alone, but every senior civil servant that should know what to do and fail to do so should be responsible, should be held responsible and sanctioned adequately. There are many of these things happening all over Nigeria, ministries.
Thank you, Anifo Osha, for your contribution. Mr. Epele, earlier you were asking the question of why the former minister stayed for 6 years, with the many allegations against her. Do you think that this development is going to encourage whistleblowing, and how much of interruption do you foresee this will bring to this administration?
Well, I'm a system person. I love system, because systems has a way of checkmating people, and I think systems in this context should actually be put in place to ensure that people will not carry out certain things and do wrong thing or fraudulent practices, rather than just trying to trap them and catch them and all that. But however, I believe that the government financial system is robust. I believe that it's good enough. It's just the implementation. And then crooked people in the system that try to circumvent that system to their own advantage. There's nothing wrong with the system. Everything is wrong with the people who are trying to run the system, who intentionally wants to defraud the government. The 2009 financial regulation is perfect, although it needs to be upgraded and bringing into it emerging issues. But I also believe Edu is somebody I respect. I haven't met him, but I follow his trajectory, and I believe that, and his antecedent, I believe that his reputation precedes him, and he knows that his reputation is on the line. The way and manner he look at the internal system and see how he can strengthen it. But also it's important to mention here that we need to know how inclusive that investigation panel is, because most of the issues that we're talking about has to do with vulnerable people. So, Mr. President, I'm sure you're probably watching, or maybe you're in a meeting. There's a need to make sure that you include some persons with disability who can also serve in that committee and bring and give that committee the knowledge that they need to be able to unravel these mysterious fraudulent issues. And I agree with you, my brother, that nobody has been convicted, so it's still an allegation. But it's very profound what is happening. But we need a very strong financial system that can checkmate people like this.
Dr. Oludare, I know you're not a preacher of love or forgiveness, you know, so to speak, but, and I'm sure you're following the latest development with the Interior Minister as well. You wonder if the Tinubu administration can afford this distraction. Expectation of Nigerians.
Thank you for that question. I must first, full disclosure, the Minister of Interior was my senior prefect in secondary school, and I have not seen him since 1999, not spoken to him. But I'll tell you something about him personally. When I was in JS1, whenever I went, because my brother was in his class, whenever I went to his class and his classmates were bullying me, he will rescue me. There was a particular incident where one of them was saying personal seat and he was walking around. So that is the manner of man that he is. And when he was selected, I was happy because, I had that memory about him. And that's why he's delivering. At first, when I heard that news, I thought, oh, wow, I am being disappointed, heartbroken. But when I heard his, explanation on, I think it was China's or whatever other news, I mean, I believe I'm satisfied based off of that, at least for now. There was no, news of any form of influence peddling. So if there was the news of influence peddling, then that is fine. That is, another thing. But he resigned before he even got into National Assembly from that, what's it called, office. And I can tell you, because I'm a politics, official lover, that all over the world, Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, Nancy Pelosi, they all have shares. Having shares in the company, they're running of that company. That is perfectly fine. Now, if the company goes around using the name of the founder to, try to get, added advantage, that would be a problem on the company. Because just like in the case of, the United States, where Hunter Biden went around peddling the name of his father to get favors, you can, dock Hunter Biden for it, but you cannot blame it on the president of the United States because it has nothing to do with it. So the moment he said that he had resigned, and it was not like he resigned, even as far back as 2019, I believe that suffices, at least to me, for now. But like I said, full disclosure, I know him. But so I don't think this, and he's, he's delivering. You can see everything that he has been doing. And this was what I predicted even
exactly the point I'm making, Dr. Charles, that, you can dig debt from anybody, as long as you keep looking and, and there are so many of these allegations that even with time you find out they might not be substantiated. It's perhaps why the former president just looked away and say, you know what, guys, focus on your job. Do you think, giving room to so much whistleblowing will bring a level of distraction to this administration?
No, it will bring a level of sanity, because when you know someone is going to blow your whistle, then you are going to couple. You are going to try to refrain from those activities that, might expose you or bring your name to shame. And I agree with what Dr. Ekpele said, that we need systems. But the problem with systems is that they are dependent on people holding forth, people all staying at their gate and making sure the system works. And what's the culture in Nigeria? This is one of the reasons why I started social rehabilitation, whereby I felt maybe if we can make people see reasons that, this stuff is not to their own benefit, maybe they can change their ways. Because if we keep systems good, but the people that are supposed to make the system, they are corrupt, and that's the culture in Nigeria. That is why I am suggesting something much more proactive as opposed to something reactive.
Quickly, let's take Olufemi's call. He's called in from London. Good morning, Olufemi.
Good morning, Nifemi. How are you? And hello to the gentlemen on the studio.
Thank you. We're fine. Please go ahead.
First of all, I'd like to say a big thank you to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for being proactive. Secondly, corruption in Nigeria is endemic. It's in the fabric of our society. It's the bane of our underdevelopment. And whoever has his hands soiled let them pay for it. Okay? It doesn't matter how many people were changed in the government. We actually want this government to succeed. The only way they can succeed is to be upright and stand on the path of the masses. The masses are money in pain, in abject poverty. Secondly, regarding the Odo scandal, to claim that he's not involved, he has resigned, is just a ruse. He might have resigned, but to claim that he does not know about the contract, that is a ruse. And I give you one example. The recently conducted by-election to the House of Representatives in Ondo State, Akoko North, he used all his influence to ensure that the wife's younger brother got the slot. Why? Route in Nigeria. Okay?
All
yes.
right.
And that's a fact.
Okay, that's our time. I'm sorry, but we have to let you go. We can't keep making allegations against these people because they're not here, right? And we'll be doing a lot of the surveys, having someone speak against them without giving them the privilege to reply.
Can I say something?
Yes, I know you want to say something, but I want us to move on from the Minister of Interior story entirely. Let me bring in Mr. Pele very quickly. According to during the rally statement, this suspension is in line with the President's commitment to upholding the highest standards of integrity, transparency, and accountability in the management of the Commonwealth of Nigerians. And I know you mentioned earlier that his communication guys should milk this further. But I want us to just, look forward to the implication of this, because now he seems to have set a standard. What they say is good for, the goose is good for the ganders, right? Do you foresee a situation where, some people will begin to take advantage of this to actually destabilize his cabinet?
Yeah, that's one of the things that I was going to say about encouraging too much whistleblowing, because politicians are crooked. Somebody can sponsor an individual to blow wrongly a whistle in order to get at that individual. But that does not in any way dismiss the value that whistleblowers bring to disclosure, which is perfect. But I want to commend Doctor for being very honest and making yourself a man of integrity on television by saying that you know this gentleman and you're going to speak about him. That's very good. But also to say that, look, if at the end of the day that the Minister of Interior, they did not trace anywhere that he's part of the organization, even though he's the founder of that organization. Everybody have a past. This guy is the star minister of this administration, and they shouldn't distract him in what he's doing. I haven't met him, I don't know him, but I'm just standing for what I believe is objective and right. If for any reason his organization, which he founded, which I am told he's no longer a director in that, if they went ahead to do something and got a contract and executed it, the question is, did they get it the right way? Did they execute the contract? Is this something that they have to refund? Will they be held accountable one way or the other? That has nothing to do with the minister. And I think this gentleman is one of the star minister of this administration, and I think he shouldn't be distracted. But yes, Mr. President have written his name in gold, and he should continue. This is just the beginning. It began on the 8th of January. 8 is number of new beginning. This is new beginning for this administration, and let him do whatever he can to make sure that people know that he means well for this country and is transparent. And I will be his #1 supporter if he continues with this trajectory.
Doctor, are you there?
Hear me? I can hear you.
Yes. 1 minute for your closing remark.
So I said, I believe the president did the right thing by, suspending. I don't want to seem, maybe I might have mistakenly sounded like I was convicting Betta Edu on national TV. No, she deserves, innocent until proven guilty. I think this is maybe more of like an administrative malfeasance as opposed to a crime, at least regarding this. I believe AFCC should do a thorough investigation of that department and every other department and set up ethical standards for every department to follow so that we don't have a recurrence of this.
Thank you, gentlemen, for talking to us. Jacob Pele, Policy Development Analyst, Dr. Charles Marindoti, Uludare Convener, Social Rehabilitation Grace and Support Initiative. Gentlemen, thank you so much for talking to us on the program this morning. We're following this story very closely. The suspended Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, Betta Edu, has arrived at the headquarters of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission in Abuja. She was brought in at exactly 11 a.m. in a black Land Cruiser Padro Jeep with no number plate, with a white Toyota Hilux backup, also without number plate. Both vehicles were later seen at the nearby gas station where they bought petrol. AFCC says interrogation begins as it confirms the appearance of the suspended minister at its headquarters. The commission also says a team of interrogators are now on hand to attend to her and proceed with the investigation as directed by President Tinubu. We'll bring you all the updates as soon as we have them. You should also stay back to watch the news at 12 for more on this development. I'm Nifemi Oguntoye. See you again tomorrow.